Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Community Spotlight Show, or Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Cloudcast and our friends at Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for 60 years. Joining us is iconic language expert, the inimitable Richard Lederer. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing fine. I think I'm awfully inimitable, actually, not inimitable, but thank you.
Okay, very good. I took this from Leave It to Beaver. That's how they describe Jerry Mathers,
Right.
by the way. And so all of our listeners are going, Leave It to Beaver, Jerry Mathers. Go to the Googler and you'll find out about what all that is about. And joining you is my longtime colleague and friend, and that is Jose Cruz, the CEO of the San Diego Council on Literacy. How you doing there, Jose?
Wonderfully. How are you, Drew?
I'm doing just fine. And joining us in the studio as well is the founder and CEO and my business partner of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi.
Drew, pleasure to be here, particularly when I'm sitting across from these two powerful forces in the world of literacy and words.
Absolutely. And no, Jose, you've had a long-standing relationship with Richard, have you not?
Well, we go back to the Read San Diego Tutor Conferences. I think that's where I had the honor of first meeting Richard and seeing his presentations. It was just a natural connection to the work that we're doing. But yes, we go back a few decades.
Right, and the Council on Literacy started in 1986, correct?
That's correct. So we're into, I've lost track now. We're at 36 years.
36 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it started by Mrs. Helen Copley and Brian Bilbray, then a city councilman in South County. And you've been there from the get-go, have you not?
I was there when we were conceptualizing a council on literacy. So it was 1985, 86. And back then, Helen Copley and Brian Bilbray were trying to figure out what they could do to attract attention to literacy, what we could do countywide to coordinate a literacy effort that encompassed the whole region. And back then we started with 5 literacy programs, and we're up to 34. So it's quite a grand collection of literacy program coordinators, representatives, what I call the amazing affiliated programs of the San Diego Council.
Right, exactly. And before I forget here, what's the email if people want to get involved with you, or website?
Yeah, literacysandiego.org. So www.literacysandiego.org.
Right. So, Richard, you're teaming up with Jose on Lederer on Language. What is it?
Well, it's 1 + 1 + 1 = infinity, because that's what we human beings do, and we are what we are because we have cooperation built into us. We cooperate, and we can do what most of the other creatures on Earth can't. So this is a wonderful, frankly, for me, to expand my lifelong mission of teachership. I did teach in an Episcopal church boarding school in New Hampshire for 27 years, and I have always lived that mission. And now working with Charles and Jose, an opportunity in our plans, our visions, to expand that mission of teachership and make a difference in this world as I pass through.
Exactly. Charles?
Well, Drew, let me give you a little background, too. First of all, I have to say that I'm already a little nervous speaking in front of Richard.
Yeah, we all are.
Because he wears a T-shirt sometimes, Drew, that says, "I am silently correcting your grammar."
It's true.
So imagine now, here we are we have to speak in front of Richard. So I'm going to do my very best and forget that I was born in Philly and raised in the inner cities of New York, and hopefully use a little bit better grammar in this episode. But Drew, let me give you a little background.
Please.
Because Jose and Nancy Cruz, the CEO of United Way. Nancy Sasaki, thank you for filling that in for me. They have a wonderful podcast with Cloudcast Media called The Gap Minders, where they talk about a variety of gaps, literacy being obviously first and foremost. And Richard was a guest in the show. And I did not know Richard. I happened to be in studio listening to his performance on this podcast. And I said, who is this individual? And we need to do something with him. And those are my exact words. And so this has happened in the most organic of ways. And Drew, you know, at Cloudcast, we care a lot about education, but specifically in terms of pioneering this genre of curriculum called audio curriculum. Richard has written over 60 books, and that's powerful. But I think some of that knowledge we can put into an audio format. So Jose and I literally had lunch with Richard and said, hey, we have an idea that we want to kick around with you. And we've arrived at Lederer on Language, a 10-part audio curriculum series, which will have listening guides for teachers and students to work with. And Jose, was that organic?
Yeah, it was. Right, we didn't know what was going to happen. Richard liked the idea. I just want to say that as it's not just the literacy aspect of things and language being the foundation for literacy and the oral tradition and such. And those of us who are word nerds, and I'm one of them, and Richard can tell you the history of the word nerd.
Is it short for something?
It's not. He'll let you know. But I'm excited about all of this.
So, yeah, nerd, you know, every word is invented by a human being. They don't fall from the trees or show up under a rock.
Or the caves of Lascaux.
Yes, but we make them up. Well, nerd first appears in print in 1950 in If I Ran the Zoo, written by San Diego's own Dr. Seuss. And if you look there, you know, if I ran the zoo, we'd have this creature and that creature, and one of them is an NERD. There is no prior print citation of that. And that's just a good example because, of course, with writers, often you know they're the ones who made it up, and that's the case here.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, just the history of language, of words. And Richard's done some things on the holidays, Halloween and Christmas. And then there's a whole story about Charles Dickens, the man they say created Christmas. We didn't say, and I learned all this from you, Richard, we didn't say Merry Christmas until Charles Dickens came along. That was his, and it stuck with us.
Because if you look at 1823 and the night before Christmas, we heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." But then 20 years later, Dickens, in his Christmas Carol, gave us the snowy Christmas because London really wasn't snowy at that time, and so much else. But particularly early on in the book, you hear Merry Christmas. And just the fact that, okay, now you know that. And that's kind of fun. You know, we took Cloudcast is obviously cloud and broadcast. And here's where we get broadcast. It's agricultural. You have a fertile mind. You are cultivated fellows here. And the point is that the original broadcast was to cast your seed broadly across the land so that it would grow. And just all of those words have so many of them, and I'll certainly be doing several of those lessons, around 35 minutes, on that kind of what we call etymology.
No, that's terrific. You're listening to Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We are chatting with Richard Lederer, president of Verbafor Incorporated, author of 60 books, UT columnist, all around great guy, speaker, comedian, you name it, doing great things for our nonprofit organizations, our community, and also joined by my colleague, Jose Cruz, CEO of the San Diego Council on Literacy, and Charles Parisi, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media. Charles?
Well, again, any listeners who are lending us their ears.
Julius Caesar. That's Antony's speech in there. Shakespeare.
I'm doing my best to impress you.
Yes. Van Gogh, lending his ear?
Only if I could, because I'm a compulsive sharer. So let's just take that speech, okay? Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. That's iambic pentameter, but look how it works. Friends, single syllable. Romans, 2 syllables. Countrymen, 3 syllables. And then what we call a quadruple spondy, lend me your ears. Now, that's what genius is. Did Shakespeare know he was doing that? I have no idea.
No, absolutely not.
But he did it, and that's what genius does. 1, 2, 3, 4, and with Shakespeare, it's just amazing.
Well,
So,
Drew, and
go
I
ahead.
think that's when he just used the word genius, and we are in front of true genius. And so for Jose and I, the opportunity to capture this genius in 10 parts, audio curriculum, so students, not just in San Diego County, Drew, as you know, but all over the world, if they lend us their ears, they will, in fact, have literally a masterclass on language in 10 parts.
And one of them is going to be on Shakespeare. That is one of the 10.
And I just wanted to say a conversation with Richard is a journey of connections, a history, just the origins of words. It's so exciting. And you're right, Charles, what we're doing with this program is we're doing a few things, but one of them is just saving for future audiences this treasure of information, and so I'm real excited that we're doing this.
You know, and Drew, as you know, Richard's really passionate about, as he should be, with 7 grandchildren, the future of our world, and so this is our contribution to a future world that we're capturing this as a almost for posterity reasons. This master and his genius in audio format, which I might argue, I don't have to argue at all, but it's the most ubiquitous of all communication speech.
It is.
It's how everything started. It's how culture was transferred, knowledge was transferred, and we're going back to the beginning and capturing this man's voice in 10 lessons.
The word language, lingua, is speech. That is, and it existed long before cuneiform hieroglyphics and all that, way before written language. We don't know when it actually started, but somehow we got to do it. So I agree, and this is our temple that we're building for generations yet unborn.
And I love when you say lingua, because you know why it reminds me of, Richard, I had this conversation with my daughter who's going to be becoming a Wall Street, deal attorney. It's pretty fancy. I told her, you need to start reading the Wall Street Journal every day so you learn the lingua franca of Wall Street.
Exactly.
So we're going to continue more of that chicanery and chatting over here. That's one of my favorite words.
You guys keep using words I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Stop it.
yeah, exactly. When we return with Richard Lederer, the president of Verbivore Inc., longtime columnist for the San Diego Union Tribune, author of 60 language books, all fun and very laughable, stand-up comedian, also with Jose Cruz. Going to chat with us a little bit more about what's going on in the world with the Council on Literacy, and of course my colleague Charles Parisi, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media. When we come right back to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We'll be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing wonderful things in our community for 60 years. We are joined by Richard Lederer, president of Verbivore Incorporated. 60 books he has authored on language. He's also a columnist in the Union Tribune, and joined also by Jose Cruz, the CEO of the San Diego Council on Literacy, chatting about our upcoming Lederer on Language podcast, and also joined by my colleague, and that is my business partner, Charles Parisi, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media. So, Charles, I'll let you tee this up. What are some of the topics that are going to be discussed at Lederer on Language?
Well, I'll probably kick it over to Jose and Richard, but this is going to be an unbelievable curriculum course for students around the world. But I'll tell you, where do we begin? Like fun with puns? Hey, what's fun with puns going to be about? That's one of the lessons.
Fun with puns. I have the honor of having been elected International Punster of the Year, the fastest pun slinger in the world, and like my fellow pun up girls and pun gents. We believe that a good pun is like a good steak, a rare, medium, well done. And we will try to give a rare, medium, well done. So, for example, anybody who knows Drew knows his email is UCLA, it starts with. Drew, I'm sure you've heard it, but pretend that you haven't.
Okay, I haven't heard it.
So what happens when the smog lifts off of Los Angeles?
You can see LA.
Yeah, you see LA.
That's right,
Yes.
Exactly. I've heard this one only since, I don't know. 1958.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was the one that told him first. But so at any rate, how do you know when it's raining cats and dogs? When you step in a poodle. And what's interesting there is a poodle is a water dog, and Pudel is a German word that means a puddle or water. So there's that fascination. So that's one of them in which I would be talking about how you make puns, give a lot of examples, and encourage the youngsters to play with words. We're going to have, as you know, the Artemis adventure seems to be going very well, and all of that stuff should be coming back pretty soon here on Earth. So I'm going to do one called Racing with the Moon, Dancing with the Stars. So just for example, a lunatic, Luna on the moon, is one who is struck daft by the fullness of the moon, just to take a very small example. And literature, libraries, a series, or at least one of them, on adding wealth, building your vocabulary, building wealth for your vocabulary, looking at digging down to the roots, how you can use classical roots, Greek and Latin, in order to see how a word works. It's hard by the yard, but it's inch by the inch. You take things apart. One on poetry, the power and magic of poetry. I hope to do Greek and Roman mythology. They give us so many words, and it's important in the curriculum. I will do one on Shakespeare. And this is our view at this point. We're still shaping. But what a challenge and an adventure, and again, a chance to expand my lifelong mission of teachership.
Can I add one more? I want you to do a session on malaprops.
Well, okay, trust, and you're talking 1775, Richard Brinsley Sheridan, and the play is The Rivals, and that's one of the great characters in drama.
Of course, I knew that.
Of course, malaprop, mal, bad, and inappropriate, and I don't know that I'll do a whole lesson on that. Maybe another year. I love them, of
all
course.
You need to do is get some recordings of Jerry Coleman.
You're right.
Are you kidding?
I have my collection of Colemanisms.
Exactly, and Yogi Berra-isms.
Yes.
And you could have at least 3 weeks of malaprops by just doing sports announcers. So once again, Charles, I've succeeded in giving more work to somebody else.
I like that idea, but Jose, I think you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I know I'm a guest on the show, but I feel like the audience, I'm just thrilled. I'm sitting here, I don't know about our listeners, but I'm just laughing my head off right now, especially when we got to the pun part. But this is what we're talking about, right? And
I want to...
No, seriously, I'm going to get back to malaprops. We're not getting rid of malaprops.
No, I love the idea. I think Yogi Berra is chock full. He's an episode in and of himself.
I do those.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you're going to add
And Samuel Goldwyn. I mean, but
I think that episode's going to be sponsored by Drew Schlosberg.
I'd be happy to do it. You know, I haven't done any
can always
malaprops,
change the lineup. Yeah.
but not that I know of and stuff. You know,
Yeah. Well, listen, Richard mentioned Greek and Roman gods. So, but Drew, before we come to the end of this episode, I've got to give a prop to Jose Cruz, the CEO of the San Diego Council on Literacy. Since you mentioned Roman gods, you know, there was an emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, for 19 years. And, you know, Jose, you're a great leader. You show a lot of innovation and vision, embracing this kind of education, because never before in the history of this country have we needed to double, triple, quadruple our efforts to improve literacy, language, words in America. And there's a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "What we do now echoes in eternity." And I think that's what we're doing. I think that's what the vision and the leadership you're showing, that we're going to do this now, and it's going to be in eternity.
It's important, and we believe it, Charles. Thank you so much. Richard.
I was just going to say, to add to that, Henry Adams, the grandson and great-grandson of presidents, and a great historian, said, a teacher affects, there's the verb, affects eternity. No one knows where his influence stops. So there's that eternity thing, and that is my mission in life.
Yeah, by the way, I love that. No one knows where their influence stops, and that's the beautiful, because that's the nature of the future. You know, you just simply, there is nothing certain about it, and it has no endpoint. It's the future, and that's why I love that. I love that thought quite a bit. But Jose, listen, I want to really take my hat off to you, because you're showing tremendous leadership in the world of literacy in San Diego, and that mantle of leadership is more important than ever, and you're doing a wonderful job taking that mantle.
Thank you.
And one other thing about it is we will have fewer people in prison. The tie-in between illiteracy and recidivism and people in prison is just there.
70%.
No question.
Yeah.
So I know one of the other episodes, the classes, so to speak, is add wealth to your vocabulary.
Yes.
What's that one all about?
Well, it's going to be a number of ways to do it. And one is context, how you can use context from contextura to weave together. It gives us the word textile, and con means together, as in company and so on. So I'm going to offer some strategies for improving vocabulary and giving basic roots. And so, for example, you know, here are 3 words that have the same root. What do you think these words mean, or what does that part of the word mean? And so a different way of looking at vocabulary building and the importance of having vocabulary. So that is going to be one of the lessons.
Jose, are you going to add something to that?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to add anything to that?
I've just, again, what Richard took me back to is my first days in college, at City College, and knowing that I had a real desire to be involved in English and reading and writing. That was the thing I loved, but also didn't have the vocabulary coming in. And so anything that I could do in that time to increase that vocabulary, that's power. That's being exact in your language. That's being able to interpret and to get a sense of what a writer is trying to do, because they are craftspeople, and so what they're doing is trying to be as exact about what they think and see and feel, and me and other people as communicators, we want those tools. So when Richard talks about building vocabulary, it comes right. It takes me all the way back, because a lot of us we're kind of on the periphery because we don't understand a lot of the things that our people are saying, and we want to know, because it's knowledge, it's communication, and it's connectivity.
No, that's terrific. Well, Richard and Jose, always good to have you folks here in the studio. You're going to be a regular, obviously, Richard, whether you like it or not. Okay,
that's good, because I've been irregular for a while.
Very good. We won't go into those details. Looking forward to hearing Lederer on language. Be looking at Cloudcast for that information. Charles, you got 1 second?
Well, yeah, I do have 1 second, because one of the things that Cloudcast is pioneering, Drew, is when when we put a community project like this together, we have what we call an IPO, which is not an initial public offering, but an initial podcast offering. So we do have an IPO event planned for Lederer on Language. I believe, Jose, isn't it, in early February,
Yes.
correct?
That's correct. And I'm trying to remember the date myself.
I think it might be February 2nd. So look for the invite, Drew, and we'll make sure if you can help us support it. Place to be determined, but we will be having an initial podcast offering in early February for Lederer on Language, the 10-part audio curriculum series.
And notice that the man does pronounce both R's in February, so you know it's going to be quality.
Not February.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, enjoy the interview. We'll look forward to having you back on sooner than later, as you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diegans for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.